how to protect actually an operating system against the external threats and risks. It is a context via which we have to identify the threats and risks. But since we are talking about the external threats and risks, threats, they are real problematic software, malware. Risks, they are expected to happen in future, yeah, but they are causing a perspective with, let's say, threat, vulnerability issue in future also. So whatever they are, since they are external, so we are not going to talk about the inner system functionalities yet. All the responsible processes for bringing the outcome flow to the inner to the inner or insider environment. Thus, when we talk about the browser, is the best example to tackle. It is one of the examples that lets the external flow comes into the environment, to the space of the operating system. Not only the browser, but all the responsible utilities. We saw the browser as an example, but there are others than the browser. But the browser is the best example to secure, to control, to monitor. Answer to the question: all responsible utilities. All utilities responsible for bringing the outer flow to the inner environment. Outer from outside means inner environment means to the inside environment, to the operating system environment. Simple. We started already securing the operating system through tackling different technologies enhancing the behavior or the work of the operating system. Yeah. We clearly said that the operating system, let's say, sorry, the web browser as a technology, it's not one bulk of data to just control, to block, or to deny, to allow, to forbidden. No, it is a long list of technologies enhancing this tool, because the browser itself, it is only a channel, it is only a tool to use to reach a service. But how to reach the service using the technologies, and how the services are being delivered to the browser and over the browser, also using technologies. The cookies, the JavaScript, the Java, the Java app, and so on. Securing the inputs and securing all the, let's say the input points inside a web browser or web solution over a web browser is just simply, not simply, but it's not unique. We talk about the input validation. Usually we have to validate the inputs. We have to validate, or the developers have to validate the inputs in all the Miriam came in now, in all the input points. So input validation. Validate input means there have to be actually a scenario how to check up all the inputted data in an input point, whatever the input point destination is. If it is local in the front end interface, or going to communicate with the database in background, everything input has to be checked to validate, either to let in or to block. This is the meaning of validate the input, or to validate the input, or validating the input, or validate whatever being inputted. The prepared statement.
دكتور
Yep.
في طالبة بتدخل
And he
خديجة أنا واحد.
Yes. Preparing the input, actually preparing the statements and using them as a stored um, process is one of the very good behaviors we can refer to, or developers can refer to, in order to protect against the malicious inputted data. Instead of, for example, making the process of calculating values using different input values or whatever, there will be a statement stored inside the program. And the statement is a list of code, it may be procedure, maybe function, something like that, to be stored, prepared in prior, stored to be utilized again and again and again whenever needed, without recreating it, without re-implementing it, without giving the chance to any interference to capture the script and modify it, avoided any kind of input, let's say, breach. So here the prepared statements, they would help in letting the script be in background in the server side. They will be actually predefined. There will be no chance to modify them. Any modification will block the full execution because they are already prepared. The program recognizes it. There are scenarios how to happen, but how to be executed, how to be called. Yet, since they are prepared in prior, so no modification to be allowed. From the input validation scenario, also scenarios in plural, also is to assign the minimum privilege to the end users. Whenever you are accessing, for example, we take the example of the AD wave. If you are accessing the AD wave, you are required to authenticate yourself, present your ID, username, password, validate it so you get into the AD wave. The same interface, instructors, I use me, instructors or anybody, also the same interface, technical people from the CIS department, they use the same interface, the same username and password fields. You as students, you see, after you identify and authenticate yourself, you see a first page for students only. Instructors see another page for instructors only. Technical people see another page responsible for, let's say, yes, for technical people only. It is not a matter of session to assign the instructors something, the students something, and the others something only. No, yes, this is true. Yet, but beside of that, you students, you're having the chance to see the courses, and you're having the chance to see the profile of yours, the marks of yours, and so on. So, can we see a minimum privilege assignment to the students? Yes, absolutely. So you as a student, in your account, you are deprived from privileges. You are not allowed to see all the students' profiles. You are not allowed to see all the students, let's say, grades and marks, courses, timetables, things like that. So assigning a minimum privilege based on sessions, is a good behavior to validate the input. If you are a student, you are not allowed to open anything but, for example, your own profile and your own courses. Minimum privilege. The same way, actually, as we do is prepare the statement and we save it, also we talk about the stored procedures. The stored procedure is a technology that enhances the use of procedures in a front end API, like the Visual Studio, like any other. There are so many and long list of API that can be utilized. And those stored procedures, they are procedures at the end of the day, functions without return to do a process. And this process is going to be actually executed and, let's say, used somewhere in the program. Those procedures, they are already stored inside the program in somewhere in the domain, or say inside the namespace, to be called whenever needed, anytime, and to be called also again and again and again and again without rewriting the code at all. they are stored, and they are doing a process. Full stop. Those are stored procedures. The use of those stored procedures eliminate the chance of intercepting the queries. Users will not be actually allowed to modify or create anything else except what the stored procedure specifies. Vulnerabilities that has been actually also tackled whenever talking about hardening the operating system is the also from the utilities, or the site channels that we have, or developers or system admins, they have to secure are the communication channels. They're going to send an email. Are you forced to use the browser? No, you're not forced, but you can use the browser. But are you able to use another utility but the browser? Not the browser, something else? The answer is yes. You can use the mailers. Yes, they are tools, software that you use to communicate emails. No need to use any browser. The answer is yes. So there are chances to have a different communication tool that allows external communications to happen, and thus external flows to come into the inside environment. Here we talk about the email systems, and it is shown that the email system is one of the utility, because we can use the, as per an example in Microsoft, we can use the Outlook Express. The Outlook is one of the utilities, the very famous utilities that can be utilized to control the email boxes. Good. What is the problem here when using the email, since they are not using the browser? They are not using the browsers as a tool to send and to receive emails. They are very far from the browsers. So the issues that the browsers cause, they are not related with the email tools like the Outlook. Yeah. What's the problem? So with the email, the problem is that, let's take the following scenario. You as a student, you are going to send me an email. I'm available in New Jersey, California, United States. Okay, your email is going to get out from your computer in the University of Israel campus here to me in the United States. Is there any direct line to link your device to my device? Is there any direct communication channel, direct, without any interception in between, without being intercepted? The answer is no. No, then no. There are repeaters and there are other utilities used as network devices. For this specific service, which is the email send an email, there are open relays that they are devices respective for helping the messages to be submitted and the messages to be retrieved. Yes, to send an email and to receive an email. The point is that amongst the nodes in between here, in the half in between the two, the sender and the receiver, those open relay devices, here what we see in front of us, this is, let's say, an email box, somebody to visualize, to see the email inbox. This is a provider, let's say the server where the email provider is there. And this is an open relay, which is a device that interconnects the sender to receiver and the vice versa. Open relays, they are dedicated computers for receiving emails and resubmitting them, receiving and resubmitting, to strengthen the signal, in the sense of, if you are the client here and you are willing to send or to receive an email from the server, and the server is available very far, there have to be open relays in between you and the provider and the external provider. As an example of the external provider, you talk about the Gmail or something like that. So open relays, they receive and they submit. They receive and they submit. They might have more than one port to submit the open relays. Thus, they have to specify the path to which channel the received message has to go. Thus, we are not. Yeah, open relays. Just remember the word open, because actually in this graph we are seeing only one open relay, but the list of the open relays that we can find in between two devices, they are numerous and they are available on the internet generally. And specifically here, technically, we can talk the sending of emails. There are two protocols to communicate actually, emails either to send or to receive. The simple mail transfer protocol is the protocol responsible for sending emails. To send any email, you need Smtp to send. You need the Smtp protocol to send emails. Yes, and anybody, since they are available on the internet, those open relay computers, they are actually available on a public network, and the owner is, let's say, of every single open relay is configuring the open relay to allow the submission of all received emails to everywhere across the world. There is no restriction. This is just a matter of configuration, and this is by using the SMTP protocol. Example of an email header. Email header, yes. The SMTP Simple Mail Transfer Protocol is one of the very famous protocols responsible for sending emails, and it is a little bit old, it's not new. And it is not unique, because an update of this SMTP had come with different functionalities, with extra functionalities, which is the IMAP, Internet Mail Access Protocol. This IMAP is having the same role here, but a little bit actually more complicated, more advanced. And it is utilized for both activities, mainly for sending and receiving emails only. This is the main purpose of this, let's say, protocol, the IMAP. Okay. A good graph demonstrating the use of the internet as a platform to send and receive emails. We have actually location number one, having a computer and the server, SMTP server. And location number two, we have a little bit, it's not the same size, not the same shape, it's not the same name, and so on. The second part in the network on this communication channel, it is having two computers, actually two servers and one computer, two servers and one computer. Each server is having a role in the receiving network. What does it mean? See here, to receive, to make an email appear on your screen, you need to configure the POP protocol, the post office protocol, to help the client receive emails. Yet while sending, SMTP, the Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, is in question, is in use, is the one responsible for sending to the next destination. SMTP sends, POP3 receives, and they swap. SMTP sends, POP receives, and so on. Okay, the difference in between the SMTP relay and the SMTP not SMTP, let's say open relay, is that we are just allowing the public use, or we are denying it. We're just putting it in a public or private environment. So if it is public, so we are talking about the open relay. If it is in a private environment dedicated, we are talking about SMTP relay only. Yeah, okay. It is a matter of read them only. So another communication platform used for, let's say, sharing media also is the real-time communication channels. Here we give an example of the instant messaging applications. Instant messaging applications like the Facebook or like the WhatsApp, something like that. So those real-time communication channels, they are actually with a very weak security if they hold security already, because they actually communicate instantly. You send now, they receive now, immediately. So where we will find the security? It is inside the engine. So here, the instant messaging scenarios here, they are at the end of the day sort of communication software responsible for specifying whom are the expected customers, and they act no more no less. The weakness here is that they are not enhancing security features like the encryption. They are not the instant messaging applications. The instant messaging applications like the WhatsApp, they are not encrypting, or let's say enhancing security features on top of the services. Right. So yeah, so there will be a very short scan and analysis and, let's say, security control. Another category of communication channels, we talk about the peer-to-peer networks. I believe that you know what is a torrent and how to download resources using a torrent. Actually, this is a peer-to-peer good example, but the communication is over the internet. So once once a user of the peer-to-peer network wants to share a resource, he only has to mention that through the steps of the network policy, or let's say network wizard. A peer-to-peer, it's a network that all the members, they are directly connected to each other, and they can share resources also directly. Mainly, we talk about secure environment, but the communication peer-to-peer does not allow to identify the communicating parties, the peers, are secure or not. Every peer, every computer means in this network has to be secure for himself. There will be no chance even to control all the devices by one, because if so, it will raise up it will change the mode of behavior of the peer-to-peer, because the peer-to-peer networks, they are dedicated to directly communicate nodes. They are from the beginning like that. But because of the bad behavior and the non-ethical behavior, they are being utilized for malicious activities. Yes, I told you the torrent and the BitTorrent, they are a good example of the peer-to-peer network. Okay, we come to the end of this unit. uh, let's say security appliances, they are one of the solutions that we may refer to in order to secure the operating system. The antivirus is a program that checks the signature and the behavior of computer programs to identify them, either they are malware or not. Malware means a virus or a worm or Trojan. The antivirus actually, it has some let's say shortness, because those antivirus, they have to behave full time. They consume the resource of the computer, and if once they are running, there will be actually a diminution of behavior, quality of service from your side. Why? Because the antivirus, they are consuming time while active. They are consuming the processor to run, and they are consuming the memory space just to operate on. So in all cases, there are drawbacks. Pop-up blocker, as per the example of the advertisement, actually utility we saw in the first chapter, the pop-up blocker is one of the utilities that you may think of to install if you have it in the pop-up, well, not in the, but with the pop-up windows. Whenever you are visiting a website, you find windows are coming to you without any console. These are interface to represent you how to do the pop-up. Okay, the spam now. We define also the spam. The anti-spam or the anti-spam is one of the solutions that we can refer to in order to secure our emails and thereafter secure our environment from malicious emails with the malicious content. Because the spam is an email. At the end of the day, the spam is an email. Yet it is coming from an unwanted destination, so we just block them without any let's say any wait wasted, time wasted. Sorry. Just one last notification about this same plant is that the anti-spam, they are working on top of two protocols, the SMTP and the POP3. The SMTP is to be controlled for sending and to control what to send, what not to send. And the POP, whatever the version is, mainly you are talking about POP3. This POP is responsible for retrieving the image from the external world to the inner box. Yes. Exactly what we were talking, because the SMTP and the POP3, they are two different protocols, and each is doing something. This is to be in both sides. Means here, if this device has to receive an email, so there have to be actually POP3 also here. But here in this graph, only for learner purposes, it is drawn in this direction only. Well, the other direction is also available here in this server. Okay, the security against this kind of issues, the spam, because the spam is not for sure a threat, because it might be a threat in the future. So this is a risk. This is not a threat, this is a risk. And this risk actually, it is to be controlled, yes, remotely, before it is redirected back to the organization. Actually, received spam, it has to be controlled before letting it into the organization. Otherwise, no, to be rejected from the beginning even. Okay. Spam mails, actually, they are to be spam, or emails classified as spam, they are to be rejected and put into the dustbin briefly. There is a long list of precautions that you have to take care of. Yet, simply, we talk about a separate box where the email, those non-wanted emails come in. Okay. The flow that comes from the network or goes to the network has to be filtered out. So using firewalls that has a list of policies to use or adopt to analyze all the flow in and out. The firewalls, they are actually customizable, and mainly you talk about the personal software firewall, which is, as per an example, the one integrated by Microsoft. The activity of filtering is not the unique, because these filtering the same we can find on another, let's say, utility or something like that. But if it is filtering the flow, the inflow or the outflow, so it is a kind of a firewall. Okay. This is something similar to the firewall, which is the HITS, the host intrusion detection system, but the purpose here is not to filter the flow for malicious software. Here to filter the flow, yes, but to detect any trial of intrusion. What does it mean? Any utility that tries to use the software or something which is not allowed, it would be blocked, because the HITS is an action. The HITS, the host intrusion detection system, is in action. Yes, but the host is not the unique. We'll see next chapter, which is the network. We see the needs, the NIDS. So here I come to the end. If you have any questions, otherwise I'll take the attendance.